group intends to tackle the invasive species crisis currently affecting much of the world through the creation of an invasive species tracker app. Our presentation was put together by the members of Group 16. Invasive species are a costly issue for the world and for our ecosystems. Invasive species have cost the world $1.288 trillion over the past 50 years and contributed to the endangerment of many species. Your average person is unaware of the extent of this situation, which is only making it worse. So how have we decided to solve this issue? First, we utilized Disney's creative thinking to define our biggest problems, those being the cost of invasive species, the risk posed to threatened and endangered species, and the unawareness of the public. Our initial thoughts involved much action from organized groups, such as governmental bodies and non-governmental organizations, to pass laws and create prevention and early detection programs to prevent invasive species from gaining a hold on ecosystems. However, enforcing new laws and prevention techniques globally would require immense amounts of resources and may not be effective without citizen involvement. We also considered interactive, gamified educational content. However, educational games are not always enough to drive awareness. We have come to the conclusion that the problems caused by invasive species are best addressed through an app that allows users to report, track, and help remove invasive species in their area. This app will combine real-time tracking data with a volunteer-based response system. This will encourage civilian action, educate people on invasive species, and mitigate the environmental and monetary effects of invasive species. Our stakeholders include a target user base of conservation enthusiasts, a small handful of competitor apps, volunteers and conservation groups who would benefit from the use of our app to draw people to their cause, and non-governmental organizations working towards conservation who would support our project. Indirect stakeholders include policymakers and media groups. Our core user base will be environmental enthusiasts without much experience reporting invasive species, likely hobbyists and students hoping to get more involved in conservation efforts. Our app will positively affect volunteers and conservation groups, national park services, universities, and agricultural departments, as we will be providing them a resource to report invasive species and drive awareness. We will be competing with other conservation apps, but the market is small and the few competitors have outdated technology and interfaces. Our app may indirectly affect media groups that advocate for conservation, as having access to an effective invasive species tracker app would give them a tool to pull in more activists and get people interested about conservation. This project could also indirectly affect policymakers and legislators, as it would alleviate some of the stress on governments attempting to handle invasive species directly. Our target user would be someone interested in expanding their conservation knowledge and getting involved with conservation efforts, such as students and environmental enthusiasts. Invasive species pose a major threat to ecosystems and economies, costing the world over $1.28 trillion in the past 50 years. Despite this, public awareness and engagement remain low. Our competitive analysis of I've Got One, WildSpotter, and WA Invasives, our main competitors, highlights key gaps in the market, including limited geographic coverage, outdated interfaces, and lack of community engagement. Market trends show increasing demand for better species identification tools, offline functionality, and citizen science participation. By addressing these gaps and leveraging emerging technologies, our app can drive greater awareness, engagement, and impact in the fight against invasive species. Our main competitors are I've Got One, WildSpotter, and WA Invasives. I've Got One is an app that provides basic tools for users to report sightings of invasive species with GPS location and photos. The app is limited geographically to the state of Florida and has an outdated UI. It also lacks community engagement features, limiting the number of people who can report and respond to sightings or provide advice. The app is also poorly rated by users, so there is little enthusiasm surrounding it. However, I've Got One has a simple interface, quick reporting, and is integrated with state agencies, making it quick and easy to pick up. WildSpotter is better rated than I've Got One. works in remote areas, and also partners with United States federal agencies. However, the app has a limited database and unreliable identification tools, as well as issues with app functionality, including crashes and slow updates. WildSpotter targets a similar base of enthusiasts, but its core use is for park rangers and land managers. WA Invasives is extremely user-friendly, but due to its geographic limitations, it has a small user base and an extremely limited part of the market. The app lacks functionality outside of Washington state, and as such has little relevance to a national or global audience. With our app, we aim to cover the holes in the market left by current tracker apps. Our app will fill the need for reliable offline functionality, reliable tools, and user-friendly reporting for the average person who does not have extensive knowledge of invasive species reporting. Resources we cited are linked here.